In a 2000-style rock fight, the Warriors got a crucial Game 1 win in Houston. With both teams failing to reach even 100 points, it was the tight and disciplined Warriors defense that sealed the game. The Rockets consistently saw a packed paint on drives, were met with point-of-attack hounds like GP2 and Moody, and failed to find any offensive rhythm from their outside shooters, not to mention Draymond Green's excellent performance on Alperen Sengun. In a 95-85 slow burn of a game, the Rockets simply ran out of fuel. Let's review. One of the chief points of offense for the Rockets this year has been the excellence of Sengun, and it was up to Draymond for much of last night to control him. Here, he takes an early charge as Sengun is known for barreling in there and wants to get in rhythm early. He had that early dunk over Draymond, but it's notable that Draymond tried his best to make sure that Sengun didn't get any easy inside shots. You can see here that Sengun is going to realize that he can't just barrel into Draymond as he tries to essentially shoulder him backwards inside the paint. But Draymond actually barely moves, and because of that, Sengun, who was probably looking to either take a step inside and then make a floater, or take an uncontested kind of moonshot mid-ranger like he likes to do, is instead left with a stout Draymond Green and maybe tries to foul bait but doesn't actually get a good shot off. Now, Draymond also did a good job later on making sure that Sengun wasn't comfortable with these passes as he tries to make this lob pass to Tari Eason, but it's sort of lazy and Draymond's able to easily grab that. So he did a great job stifling Sengun early on. Another thing that the Warriors had to do was attack the outside dribble of ball handlers, especially the weaker ones like Sengun, like Jabari Smith Jr., essentially trying to make sure they can't get any easy inside dribble penetration. To do this, notice how Sengun, maybe Steph's dig does a little work here, but he ends up losing the dribble himself. Again, in this example, Sengun tries to take it inside, but as soon as he makes that turn, he is hounded by Pods and Looney, which forces him to pick up his dribble and make this pretty wild outside pass. And then in one of the closing moments to the game, as soon as Sengun gets down the court, he again is going to try and dribble inside against Draymond, but instantly Jimmy Butler is going to attack that outside dribble. Really important against Sengun when he tries to get penetration to attack the outside. He's super tall, he's super lumbery, and as a result, he doesn't have an especially adept ball handle, so it's important to attack the outside. They also did this against Jabari Smith Jr., who, for all of his shooting talents, also hasn't really developed the ball handling skills, as Draymond just makes that swipe and then the Warriors are off to the races. Now, another thing that the Warriors took advantage of was Jalen Green's irrational confidence. He is far too willing as a driver and a pull-up shooter. He doesn't always make good reads, and he's often just trying to barrel inside. Because of that, the Warriors can assume several things, that when Jalen Green is tasked with the ball in isolation and he thinks he has a good matchup, you can often rely on the fact that the ball is not going to find spaced out shooters, or it's just spaced out offense in general, and then instead he's just going to attack with that step back. With a lot of time left in the shot clock, Steph actually did a pretty good job in isolation on Jalen Green last night with the first stop and then that stop with the step back three. Now, Moses Moody also did a good job at the point of attack last night. He does a great job here contesting Jalen Green at the peak, but I think the most important contributions were just staying back. Now, the Rockets last night were playing Sengun a lot in these high ball screens to try and get Jalen Green going downhill. But the Warriors, especially Draymond, were definitely willing to play drop and contain. Because of that, as Moody is going to ice this screen, meaning that he's going to force him to not use the screen that Sengun wants to set and instead make him go baseline into the help of Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green, Draymond especially being in drop, means that the Warriors aren't forced in rotation whenever Jalen Green does go downhill, But also importantly, the Warriors were just trusting that Draymond would be able to prevent that penetration and protect the rim against Jalen Green. He does it again right here as, again, Sengun high ball screen. They're trying to fight over, but even with this downhill advantage, Draymond Green in drop has been easily able to contain guys like Jalen Green in the past, especially because he knows that Jalen Green usually has one singular mode, attack. And because of that, especially in a playoff series where every shot matters, the Warriors are more willing to load up on Jalen Green with Draymond in drop and with other help coming than worry about any kicks to outside shooters like Dillon Brooks or Fred VanVleet. It's also worth noticing that when you play Amen Thompson, when you play Sengun, your spacing isn't as great because Warriors defenders don't really respect Amen Thompson's presence. But here, Draymond just gets a really good contest, and Jalen Green can't get the shot in. And this happens yet again, as Jalen Green, now we're in the fourth, is going to get positioning on GP2. But again, who does he have waiting and help for him? It's Draymond Green. And what does Jalen Green do? He attacks. Multiple times throughout this game, Jalen Green opted to simply attack rather than trying to facilitate, make a read. The Warriors know this, and they're just willing to park Draymond in the paint every single time. Whether it's in drop, whether it's in help, with our help rotation at the rim, Draymond's always going to meet Jalen Green, and a lot of the time he's going to miss because he's a fairly reckless driver. Now, another thing that the Warriors tried to do last night was make the Rockets beat them with difficult shot making. This is a good example of GP2, who did a great job in isolation against any of his assignments, especially at the perimeter, just forcing Tari Eason to make this poor fadeaway. Now, I think it's important right here to pause and look at the Warriors' defensive posturing. There is this mismatch with Steven Adams on a much smaller Steph Curry. But the Warriors, when they stay home on their assignments like this, and with Quinton Post here to make sure that Amen Thompson can't get an easy back cut, when the Warriors stay home like this and force the Rockets to play one-on-one, they do a pretty good job because the Rockets have had a poor time this year at scoring in the half court as GB2 makes Tari Eason take a really bad fadeaway jumper. In this other example, the Warriors are also willing to live with shots like this as Steven Adams is trying to run action in the corner or in the slot with Dillon Brooks, and as Dillon Brooks is going to run off and try and take this three, the Warriors will live with that. It's not like Dillon Brooks is an especially poor shooter, but you'll take that option because that's not an especially efficient offense, especially in these playoff series. Again, look at the positioning of Post. He's not rushing out to contest Amen Thompson because Amen Thompson simply isn't a good shooter at all. The Warriors are willing to stay home on their assignments. They're not especially worried here, and because of that, you can task individual defenders with individual assignments. And it's not too much of an issue, especially when the Rockets are missing. Now, I also wanted to cover how the Warriors were good in rotation. Jimmy makes this hard closeout, and as a result, Jabari Smith is going to get a step on him. But the first rotation is Pods, who comes here to make sure that Jabari Smith can't get an easy layup. Because of this, and because he's clearly not going to shoot, Jimmy Butler is now going to peel off and try and make sure that he gets inside positioning on Sengun, who it seems like Jabari Smith wants to make the pass to. So Jimmy Butler is already making this rotation, but watch Moses Moody in this possession. Watch the diligence as he immediately leaps in and actually is the one who intercepts that pass. It's a really good read from Moses Moody, and even Jimmy Butler making the quick switch on to Sengun to try and prevent that inside pass shows you how attentive the Warriors' defense is when they lock in. Now, this is another good example of the Warriors being great in rotation whenever Steph gets beat here off the Dillon Brooks back cut. Watch as Jimmy Butler is immediately willing to rotate. Now, why is he willing to rotate, though? Because he was on Amen Thompson. And when Amen Thompson is anywhere from the three-point line to the restricted area, you do not worry about him. And because of that, Jimmy Butler is able to beat Dillon Brooks to the spot and actually get a really good contest, as Freddie then misses the three. that leads us right into the last factor that may actually help the Rockets in Game 2, which is just that they missed a lot of threes. Now, initially, the Warriors were making really good rotations, as Moody does there with that great closeout, and as Pods does here with a great closeout onto Freddie. But for a lot of the game, Fred VanVleet, Jalen Green were just missing a lot of outside threes, a lot of wide open threes. And while Fred VanVleet and Jalen Green aren't especially known for being super gifted, super accurate three-point shooters or outside shooters in general, it's not likely that they shoot this poorly in future games, so I don't anticipate the Warriors to win by double digits a lot. But I think it's worth noting that because of the Rockets' shooters' variance, because Fred VanVleet is not an especially good shooter when contested, and can have more bad shooting nights than you would expect from your all-star guard, I think the Warriors can rest easy knowing that even if Fred VanVleet and Jalen Green have better shooting nights than they did last night, they likely won't be that much better. And because of that, I think Game 1 has showed us that in this series, it will come down pretty much exclusively to the Warriors' defense and the outside shooting of role players. And I think if you look to what happened late in last night's game, especially with Moses Moody, clutch threes from non-Steph, non-Jimmy players can really set the Warriors over the top in these slowed down rock fights. Thanks for watching. Let us know if you agree.